Welcome, ghouls, demons, and fellow weird ones. Let's see. Part 7 of the tale behind the weird tales. So this has been a fun series to go through. Now we're doing Veles, the lost hound of Hekate. My little bubbers, who's in almost all of my YouTube, especially my YouTube videos. It's part of why I keep the bed here, because the dogs have to be near me, so I make sure they're comfy. Hey, cheers. Cheers. We're drinking some moon juice, but this isn't a moon juice episode. But it's all moon juice, right? Everything that I do is just moon juice. So don't know why I don't just incorporate it all in my podcast. But making sure I break down these series for God knows what fucking reason. I gotta make it complicated. It has to be compartmentalized or it's stressful for some reason. Anyway, where do we begin with Mr. Veles? Well, so Veles' story, it's a mythological approach to his life story and genuine things that happen. I know how crazy his story will sound, and I want people to know. I promise, you're gonna believe me. You're gonna believe me. If you're not, you're not. Like I can't fucking worry about it. But I want people to know I'm being incredibly genuine, remarkably fucking so fucking seriously genuine about the story. So let's go with it. What is the story? Well, we move from like closer to the city where soon I had more puppy friends, neighborhood friends, and we move an hour outside of Detroit in the middle of fucking nowhere. Our neighbors are cornfields. Like, it's remote. We couldn't get internet out of the house. We thought we would be able to because it wasn't that far. It was outside of Port Huron. So like 30 minutes outside of Port Huron. So it's like, it really didn't seem like it was going to be like remote, like that remote. Like we still wanted some connection to the world, but like it was so stressful. We had to use our phone data to connect to the TV to watch Netflix. And I know, boohoo, first world problems, but that house wasn't what we expected it to be. That is my conclusion. And I probably should do a Moon Juice podcast about that fucking house and everything that we went through with that fucking thing because it was spiritually significant. Anyway, we were deeply isolated and it was an issue, in like my business approach, but it also gave me a lot of time to have a lot of noise shut out from me because like it took 30 minutes for me to upload like a 3-minute video to fucking TikTok or whatever the fuck I was doing. So people like, do YouTube. There was like, I'm like, I don't know how I'm gonna upload any of this fucking shit to YouTube like at this point. So it was like, again, delays and everything that I was trying to accomplish because I had been trying to come drink the moon juice with my friend Phoenix in 22. And we were recording at my place, but then like the whole point was she was going to do a lot of the editing and uploading because she has a background in film. So it's supposed to be like a balance of things because we found out after we bought the house that we couldn't get internet. Anyway, all of that is like tangents and noise, but it expresses some of the energy of everything that we went through. And Suna was kind of getting depressed because like, oh, like there's not like we're not really, we have to drive an hour to go to the dog park and this and that. And we had been looking at getting a dog before we fully moved into that house, the Wales house. It was such a fucking process. Holy shit. Was it obnoxious for us to try to rescue and adopt a German Shepherd puppy? Like, holy shit. We wanted another German Shepherd. Chad was hell-bent on another German Shepherd, but we're going to go to a breeder. I'm big on rescuing. I've had rescues my whole life, except for like one of our dogs wasn't technically a rescue, but she was still a mixed Noelle. She was a Basset weenie dog. But anyway, whole thing, I want to rescue. Some of these rescues have lost their fucking minds. I get it. You want to make sure that the dog's going to a safe environment. But why the fuck am I spending breeder prices for a rescue? Like, do you want the dog to have a good home or not? And I was like, we were not the people. Like, the one lady in particular gave us a really hard time. I'm like, you don't understand. We already have a German Shepherd who my husband like self-trained to be she's a certified service dog and he trained her. Like, give us a fucking break. But so we went through like 2 different dogs that we were trying to get before we got Veles. but it was stressful. We were trying to get Suna, like a sibling, a buddy. She had my cats. We had Doyle and Hazel at the time, but she needed a puppy friend. And we were ready to expand our family and get another dog. But it took forever. So 2 years of trying to find a fucking dog. We finally get Veles. But the other dogs just weren't our dogs. And I understand, especially in reflection, I understand that now. And this is where it gets into the trippy weirdness that I want people to genuinely understand, being honest about. This really fucking happened. I'm not trying to be woo-woo weird and blah, blah, blah. This is legit myself and my life. So I've already been very honest and disclosed my psychedelic use in the past and blah blah blah. So I haven't psychedelic, like I wasn't on like I don't think I was on microdosing experience or whatever, but leading up to us trying to find a dog, I just, tell Chad this just isn't our dog, whatever. And he kept like up on like the Facebook like ads and like the shelters that would post stuff on social media and whatever else. There were a couple dogs he would look at, and I was just like, not, and because I got to a point where I was like, not, that's not our dog. Like, I would just look at the dog, and I knew it wasn't our dog. And because I started having dreams. I was working with Hekate more and more. She was making her presence, her energy known to me. And I tend to try to maintain a grounded, more, I guess, I would say agnostic, but atheistic, grounded, scientific, blah, blah, blah approach to working with these energies, even though honestly, I'm pretty theistic. I'm pretty, it's like two things can be true at the same time, I guess, is how I handle the complexity of deities and energy, and it gets really complicated. But like, Hekate is kind of just this presence, and I'm kind of trying to figure out how to approach this presence, and like, because I was pretty strict about not working with deities for a very long time until 22. I started creating candles in inspiration with like deities in 2020, right before my fucking car accident. Kalima, like I had this very vivid dream experience with Kalima. Um and that kind of started my more theistic approach, but I've had a lot of religious trauma in that way. So I've like, kept myself centered and not getting lost in the sauce about like theism in that sense. So anyway, so 22, I would say I started making candles with like I started really opening myself up to theism and like deities and energies being um real. I don't know a better word for that, but like the things I was perceiving. And I still have this understanding that yes, I'm perceiving these things, but I also believe it's an energy force within me. And I think things are really complicated. I don't believe I have the vocabulary to express the situation. I have feelings. I just have like this inner intuitive knowing that I've made peace within myself. But to express it to other people, still don't know how to do that. But Hekate is a presence, and I made a couple candles inspired for her. But I really wanted, I suppose, to word it. I don't know a better way to word it. I guess I was a desperate groupie for Lilith. I really want it to be more Lilithian within me, which is I've just accepted. Isn't. That's my Lilith sign in astrology is in Cancer, and so I feel like that explains a lot of my issue with the demon mother goddess that is Lilith. You know what I mean? And so there's for a variety of reasons, and it gets into more and more psychedelic use and like what I mentioned about like my pseudonym for my poetry, Melanoe, being the daughter of Hades and Persephone, was an insight that came through to me in a psychedelic trip. I've taken that deeply metaphorically, and what does this goddess archetype represent? And aligning myself within that trait, healing the triggering wounds of the Cancerian Lilith and what Lilith represents and all of those other things. But anyway, I am creating candles with symbolism of like deities and mythology. And I'm reconnecting to a passion of mythology. Studied a lot of mythology in middle school and high school. And then I kind of like fell off of it because life got real, college, trying to survive, being an adult. You forget of all of these literatures that were inspiring to you, right? But anyway, so Hecate is a presence, and I'm having dreams. Um, and the dreams are about Jupiter and a, a dog, essentially, the god of storms, and Jupiter was significant. And I kind of, I don't fully remember all the details. I'm sure it's written in my lunar memoirs because like I do that almost daily, weekly. It kind of depends, but I try to document all of this. So March of 23 might go into more detail of my dream experience, like, but I'm not recalling all the details at this present moment. I was having dreams, and I know that to do with Jupiter and the god of storm, which Jupiter is the god of storms. So storm was significant. And my husband, one random day, I quit my job. It's March, or it's just about to be March because we got Veles March 3rd. So it's February. I'm 1 month post quitting my job, acid trip, changing our whole lives, throwing everything upside down. My husband's being very patient, and he's like, "Hey, I found this dog," and he was like, you know, he was kind of timid about expressing this dog to me because I just don't know if it's a good time. Like, I just don't know if we can afford another point. Like, you know, like things were really stressful. And Chad had just got like another new job. He was going through a lot in his career that was pretty extra unstable with all the decisions I was making. Because again, we are making changes in our life. So when you make changes, tower moment, things fall apart. It's a lot of chaos. You got to make sure you know how to swim, or you got to endure the storm, right? So I'm kind of also thinking that like these dreams I'm having with like the storm and Jupiter's abundance and growth, expand, like so much Jupiter symbolism, and surviving the storm, crossing the abyss, all the clip off like things that we're talking about. I'm trying to connect this fucking acid trip that had me quit my job, and I'm trying to trust the process, and chaos, 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 chaos. Starting my Saturn return in Pisces, more chaos, you know. And I was like, you know what? I was like, if it's our dog, if it's meant to be our dog, we'll be fine. I am trusting that we will be able to support this. Tell me more about the dog. He shows me a picture and he goes, his name is Storm. And I instantly was like, that's our dog. His shelter name was Storm. All of these dreams about the god of storms, Jupiter, that I'm having. I was like, that's our Bubbles. That is our baby. And, ooh, is your dad coming home? Speaking of the devil, maybe. Anyway, so we go to the shelter and we go to meet Veles. And well, he wasn't Storm. We go to meet Storm. We wanted to see what we thought about him. We drive up to Lapeer County shelter and we meet him. And he's a timid, traumatized little baby boy. Very sad. And apparently he was surrendered with his brother, litter brother. And Chad was like, okay, well, we'll bring back our dog and see if Suna gets along with him. But because of Chad's new work schedule, because he started working nights, things were weird. I think we waited a week and we brought Suna back. And Chad that whole week was talking to me about how, you know, he kind of didn't care how things were going. If Storm and his brother were there, we were gonna get both of them. Chad was gonna get both boys because he couldn't fathom separating the brothers if they had been surrendered together, and they were both 6-month German Shepherd puppies, male puppies, purebred. Like it was like that's unheard of at like a regular shelter. There are German Shepherd rescues, which is what we've been looking at. This was the average shelter where mainly mutts and other abandoned dogs go. So to have like 2 pure shepherds, 6 months, and no one's like hot commodity, you know what I mean? Like it's just one of those things. So he said, we'll get both of them. Like he just really felt for them because like they had 2 or 3 different homes. Like they were, I think, adopted together. I don't fully know how they were adopted together, but they were together and they went to a couple different homes. They went to, I believe it was Detroit Dog Rescue or some abuse shelter in Detroit. And then they got transferred up to Lapeer. And that was they'd spent like 3 something months in the shelter. So like they were only with their adopted families, went to 2 or 3 different homes within like the first 3 months of their lives. And so by 6 months, the story that Veles, storm and his brother went through. It was devastating, especially to an animal lover like my husband and I, include both of us. I feel like Chad, that's where I really felt the depth of his emotion and his perspective in things. Because he's, like I said, he's very reserved, very stoic man. I'm incredibly expressive. So like we're kind of like in agreement in that. And I'm like, and all happens. So we go back, we bring Suna. It's about a week later, and we asked about his brother. His brother got adopted an hour before we got there. I'll cut to that chase. So that was, I felt like a positive omen, but we were gonna have 3 German Shepherds and we were just gonna deal with it. But he found a good home. They assured us that it was like a really good home, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay. So we asked for Veles again. He was still there. And that was another sign that I feel like this is our dog, that he waited a week. 6-month German Shepherd male, like, it was weird to me that he had been in the shelter system as long as he had. Like, that's just, it's not really heard of when it comes to German Shepherds. And so, very timid, scared little baby. And he instantly attaches to Suna. And Suna's very friendly. She loves every dog. I don't think she was expecting us to bring him home with us. And so her getting like, oh, this is a brother. This a needy little puppy is gonna live with me and take up my space and my attention, only daughter syndrome, spoiled. So there was some, roughness with sharing attention and things like that, but which is expected anytime. It's very normal. But he attached to her immediately, and we brought him home third, and there's snow on the ground, so he associates snow with freedom, and I think that that's beautiful for a variety of reasons. I can't fucking remember the moon. It's the moon in Cancer. There is something, I don't know. There is something really cool about, I remember the moon at the time. I don't remember what about the moon, but I do remember like I was like geeked. I was so fucking excited. I told Chad, I was like, this is divine. This is all in alignment, and I got super fucking stoked. Just breadcrumb, like, ooh, gumdrop, ooh, piece of candy, leading us all the way to wherever. And this was one of them. And like Veles, like, he's like the family soul dog. Like, there's definitely a bond with him and Chad and me and him. There's definitely something about him and I. And I know he was a gift from Hekate, especially with our dreams and everything that we're having. And little bastard, traumatized puppy, was very difficult. Had a lot of behaviors. Skeptical puppy. Holy shit, he mirrors my Aquarian paranoia. And we got him March 3rd. I count his birthday as September 3rd. And so I could be wrong or off on that, but I'm pretty sure he's a Virgo. I would be really surprised if he was a Leo. I would say definitely not a Libra. I would argue that. Doyle was a Libra, my little kitty, my great kitty. Anyways, none of that fully matters. The astrology about animals, but does. And so I firmly believe that he's a Virgo. And so we call his birthday September 3rd, because he was 6 months approximate when we got him March 3rd. So anyway, that's Veles' story. And because of all of that, I wrote a story about Veles, the lost hound of Hekate. And it's kind of my imaginative interpretation on a mythological plane, what he went through in that 6 months. I incorporated his brother into the story, and without ruining anything, it concludes with him finding home. Which that's why I think the moon in Cancer is so significant, or there's maybe a 4th house significance. Man, I really wish I could remember, and I could pull it up, but that would just take extra time that I'm not doing. People go back and read my memoirs. Insert self promo right there. Go back and read the memoirs. Get the full story behind the story. This is a reflection of the tale behind the tale. But I remember there just being a significant. Anyway, it concludes with him finding his way home. And so yeah, the lost time of Hekate is about him being lost. So 6 months that honestly don't have any genuine documentation. Like, I've had rescue dogs, and there's real solid documentation on what the dog went through. Everything that Veles went through is speculation. We know that he like, he was growing in a cage that was too small for him, and you see that physically. His chest is, like, squished in, and he has, like, interesting, like, shoulder and hip, which stresses me the fuck out for when he gets older. Holy fuck, dude, does that make me wanna just vomit? Because I don't know why anyone he's such a sweet baby boy. I don't know why anyone would abuse him. I don't know why anyone would abuse any animal, but very specifically, all right, he's such a good boy. Like, I don't know what he could have done to upset people except being a puppy. And I get it, not everyone has the patience to deal with puppies or children, and that's not an excuse to abuse them. And so, like, I've definitely projected my own trauma onto this puppy boy, my baby boy staring at me. But I relate to it. I resonate with it so much. And that's why, like, and I really it taught Chad a lot of patience, because, he had a perfect, pristine little princess who came from a breeder, and he got to mold her perfectly. She didn't have any baggage. I had baggage when I met Chad. Chad had baggage when I met him. But Veles was a good representation of baggage and what love does. Because he's such a good boy. He's 3. We're gonna have a what, 3rd anniversary gotcha day here in March in like 2 months. He's just, oh, what love does. He's such a good boy. You're such a good boy, buddy. I'm so lucky to have you. So lucky to have you. I mean that with everything I have. I'm just so fucking obsessed with this cute boy. Yes. All right, I know. I'm finishing up your story, and then I'm gonna take you outside. You gotta wait like maybe 5 more minutes. See, Mom, you just yapping, yapping, yapping. Yep. So anyway, so I wrote his story about that, which to me was healing for knowing the journey that I went on to find my home, which I recall, like, with my husband, it was a solo mushroom trip in Mabon. Well, I think that was is that technically Libra season? I think it's technically Libra season. The sun might have technically been in Libra, but it could have been the very end of Virgo season when I had the psychedelic trip. But I just crawled into my husband's lap and I was crying. High as fuck on mushrooms. I took 5 grams. No. I took 3.5 that trip. He wouldn't let me take 5 grams by myself, which is weird, because I was like, let me take 5 grams and you can soberly babysit. But he was like, you're going to be on 5 grams of mushrooms. I need to be on 5 grams, and I'm not taking mushrooms today. So anyway, took 3.5 grams, and he got done working. I came down from my meditation circle, and I don't know when he asked, but I just was sobbing. As soon as I saw him, I was sobbing. Kind of like push him and sit him down in a chair, and I crawl in his lap, and I just crawl into him. And I'm like, I'm home. And just amazed that I was home and I was safe. And I remember that was June. No, what the fuck am I saying? September, Avon of 21. So we had only been together a year. We took mushrooms together in June at the summer solstice. So then, like, that was when we took the trip together, and that was a whole other thing. I've talked about it a few times, but this was significant. So that, like, feeling of home, it took until 24 or 2025. I wrote Veles' story the beginning of 2025. So it might have technically been Yule of 24. Might have been the very end, Capricorn season of 24. I'll have to look back. But anyway, it took until that moment of time for me to write the story, just the level of healing and the symbolism of what it means to find home and safety within someone who genuinely wants to love you and take care of you. And witnessing that within Veles, like the mistrust that he had with humans. And like, I remember Chad, because he was such an asshole. Veles was such an asshole. He's a lot more patient with me, but I had rescues. I was projecting my own issues onto this dog. So I was like really patient with Veles, a lot more tolerant than Chad was. His patience was really being tested. But I remember one day, Capricorn full moon 2024. I do remember this because I had a show in Ann Arbor. a candle show. And because we came home, it was like 2 something in the morning because we drove 2 hours to Ann Arbor from Ann Arbor to Port Huron, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Veles had a hard time. If you said, come here, he would run away from you. And we had him about a year and a half. And he was just been in just so much stress just to get him in the house and like all the off-leash training and all the work. We put in so much work into this to heal this baby, just getting to trust us and love us and show him that we loved him. But I remember Chad sitting there being like, buddy, I'm trying to love you. I don't want to get rid of you. I don't want to abandon you. I just want to love you, but you gotta listen to me. I'm not trying to hurt you. And he, like, Chad's just having this, like, moment where he's like, I'm at a loss for what to do. So I'm just gonna talk to you as if you're a human child. And I want you to know that I love you. I want to take care of you. I don't want to hurt you. I have no bad intentions for you. You have to trust me or this won't work. And I remember it significantly because it's mirrored in mine and my own husband's relationship when our traumas like trigger each other and we go through that mirroring aspect. And it reminds me again of that Mavon mushroom trip where I was crying. I was in such disbelief and joy that I was home. And so Veles' story is about being lost and returning home. And yes, it's a short story. It's wrapped up in a cute little fable. But that's the significance in the story for Mr. Veles. From that Capricorn full moon and that heart to heart that my husband had with him, it ended up being like 3 a.m. by that time. So we got home at 2 and we're trying to go to bed because we had to wait. We had to turn around and wake up at 6:30 to drive another 2 hours right back to Ann Arbor. So it was a late night and very stressful. And Chad's just wanting to get some fucking rest. But he's fighting with Veles. And when he finally got him back inside and he's just laying with him in the dawn bed and having this heart to heart with him, changed everything. And I feel like my husband and I have been having our own versions of that slowly as we continue to heal and merge into one another throughout our marriage. Because healing isn't linear. And it's crazy how it just cycles through and through and through and through. But anyway, for Veles, that's like the whole inspiration behind his story. And this one was difficult to organize because like how do I write all of that in a digestible 3 to 5 page fable? And I mean in the book all my books are like 20 to 30 pages because of how I break them. But in a size 12 Baskerville, or I think it's size 11 actually. I think I type in size 11 Baskerville on my pages or Word document in a centered stanza. It's like 5 pages. My stories are 3 to 6 pages. So then it's like 20 to 30 pages by the time I design the book and break it down in like a form. So anyway, how do I digest that? That was difficult. So this story took me, Suna's story took me an hour because I wrote them the same day. And then Veles' story took me about 4 because I was constantly pausing and having to really sit. And then I would get lost in my daydream reminiscing all of these moments that built up to the inspiration of the story. So Veles, the Lost Hound of Hekate. And I'm going to read the dedication. So by Sarah Odell. All right. I would like to dedicate this excuse me. I would like to dedicate this mythology to our beloved rescue puppy, Veles. When we found you, I knew you were divine guardian gifted by Mother Hekate, confirmed by the shelter name bestowed upon you as you. Sorry. Between my eyes are not. There we go. I've been staring at the camera for too long. Let me fucking start over. I would like to dedicate this mythology to our beloved rescue puppy, Veles. When we found you, I knew you were divine guardian gifted by Mother Hekate, confirmed by the shelter name bestowed upon you. You have made our family whole, showing us all that suffering will guide you home, leading us to understand that despite any trauma, gentleness, love, and trust are still possible to attain. You remind us of the power that resides within our will and the strength that is within our soul. You symbolize the rainbow that comes through the weathering, the chaotic storms in life. While we tease that you won the lottery, it is truly us who won by being blessed with a devout hound like you. With motherly love, Sarah. And he stared at me the whole time I read that. He's my bubas. So yeah, so there's Hekate symbolism in his story. There's underworld symbolism within his story, hellhound symbolism. And I think that that's I really love that connection. Luna having Lucifer energy, Veles having Hekate energy. And I love the symmetry and the correlation and all of the above. So with that, that is book 7. So that is the tale behind the tale. And thanks for listening. If you have any questions or want to know more, comment and let me know. And I'm sure I can find a way to yap about it in a whole other 30-minute video. Cheers, everybody.